You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
So we've got the Doc Fordham MD going to ring in, so we'll just wait for him to ring in and we'll get a dud update.
Which is?
Don's update from the Doc. He was on a mission. He had Don, former member of the You Cannot Be Serious panel here. He was on special mission to undercover story he'd sent him on. I don't know where he is. We haven't heard from Don, as I said. Haven't heard from Don since he departed here, took his little kit bag and he went into the truck and disappeared. We haven't heard from him since. Well, I haven't now. I think you've spoken to him. But he was going away to think about his options and think about his future.
He might have gone up north. He might have gone up north with all the horses.
He might have. He might have done that. Now, I know I've mentioned this before. You talk about waste. No, we're not in Lebanon. That was not a bomb going off. That was someone dropping something above us. You might think I get on a one-track mind about things. The government overrun on spending and money and here in this state. Could you tell me again, if someone is listening to this who is part of the road authority, could you tell me why we, the taxpayers, spent millions of dollars installing speed lights in the Burnley Tunnel? You know, when you drive there, the lights go along, they green, they follow your car, and if traffic is heavy, the lights get well ahead of you, and if there's no traffic, you can keep up with the lights. What is the point of spending all that money because you can't keep up with the lights, if you know what I'm talking about, the speed lights that travel alongside the freeway? The tunnel, you cannot keep up with them if the traffic is heavy. What is the point of it? If the traffic's not heavy, you've got a speedometer on your car so you can see if you're doing 80k. And if the traffic is heavy, it's sometimes at a standstill and the lights go past you and you think, why are they there? Who has installed them and why? And how much money did it cost? And if someone can tell me, no, I'm on the wrong track here, those lights are there for a different reason, I'd love to know why. But I know it cost millions of dollars to install them.
I thought it was like a chaser, so I was always going up to it fast and trying to beat the green light, not go along with the green light. So
no, if you try and beat the green light, it means you're doing more than 80, and that's the speed limit.
Who told me that? They didn't tell me that.
Well, why would they put them in there if the speed limit's 80, why would they set the lights at 90 or 100?
Fancy lights.
No, but it is extraordinary because I defy anyone at any time of the day, unless it's midnight or in the morning, early in the morning, to be able to drive at 80 through the tunnel. You just can't do it. The traffic is horrendous and the lights mean absolutely nothing.
So they don't go away if it's slow. I thought they did slow down, didn't they?
Well, what's the point of that? What is the point of, if you can't keep up the lights no matter how slowly you're going or how quickly you're going, what is the point of them? You just look at the traffic ahead of you and you drive accordingly. It's nonsensical. Speaking of nonsensical, I know the Premier, not the Premier, the Lord Mayor is on a junket overseas about climate change. Sally Capp, what in God's name has she gone to? Did she gone to Japan or somewhere? There's a conference on climate change. What would the mayor be doing about climate change? Seriously. If the mayor stayed in Melbourne and worked out how to stop the pigs vomit, who are graffitiists, who are taggers, who are about to deface the speed buttons and the sound buttons, rather the sound panels on the Westgate Freeway extension, the tunnel. It looks fantastic there, but they're gradually being degraded by, as I say, really, really antisocial people who are nothing more than cockroaches. And where are their parents? And why doesn't the government actually crack down on defacing our great state on the speed barriers and the sound barriers that are being erected look fantastic. There's a bit of art involved in them, and they're gradually being degraded by the pig's vomit who are known as graffitiists. Why doesn't the state government do something about it? Instead of worrying about going overseas about the climate change, get some people to police, flying squads, SAS people, cameras, big hoses that spray vegetable dye onto the graffitiists in the middle of the morning. You must notice them. They must have cameras. Go out there and lumber them. Hit it on the head.
So what is the Lord Mayor going to do with climate change to make our city better? I mean, isn't that really the state government's job?
What would she be? What, put solar panels on the? I would put solar panels on there. What it is extraordinary. It is just that is a snout in the trough nonsense. That, and it's
a junket.
It is a junket. So we're waiting for the doc to ring in, and might I just mention also that now here's the thing talk about the government, how incompetent the government are. Did you know that the people who live above the tunnel, who have had their houses where the tunnel bores under them and they've been compensated, listen to this, you won't believe this, they've been compensated, many households have been compensated to the tune of $1.8 billion because the title of the land that the government have acquired, the title of the land that you own your title goes through to the centre of the earth. The centre, so they've compensated you
Really?
not for it says, the land titles extension are extended to the centre of the earth. So if you have a little plot of land in, I don't know where the tunnel goes through, Footscray or Somerville or Yarraville, you've got a little apartment there, a little house, that your land entitlement goes through to the centre of the earth. What you'd be building down in the centre of the earth, I have no idea. And there's some loophole that says they have to compensate you because your title extends to the centre of the earth, and it's cost us again $1.8 billion. You can't make this stuff up. This is the incompetence of people who think up these schemes and don't do their due diligence about how could you say your title goes through to the centre of the earth? It's extraordinary. So that's cost us another $1.8 billion. That. And then there's a man. We might ask the doc about this if he comes on the line. There's a man called Greg Andrew. He's on a hunger strike up in Canberra, I think. He is on a hunger strike until the government do something about global warming. My question is, could anyone care less if Greg Andrew starves himself to death? Could anyone care less? He's sitting there with his dog. I bet he feeds his dog. He's sitting there with his dog and he's on a hunger strike trying to blackmail the government into doing something about global warming. And so...
Well, it's something that you just can't change overnight, can
no,
you? I mean, it's going to obviously a period of time.
So Greg's not eating. Apparently, I'm not sure if he goes home at night and has something to eat, but he sits there all day not eating. Just supposing he didn't eat. I don't know how long he can last by not eating. Maybe a month, could you? Or drinking water, or 3 days, or 3 weeks, could you? If you didn't eat food, how long could you last?
I think that would be depending on your body weight, because obviously the fact that...
Right. And so if someone drove past Greg one day and he was just sitting there rigid because he died, besides, I know you'll think this is extravagant, but I'm just saying theoretically, could anyone care less? We would care if Greg died, and his family would, and we don't want to see him dead. But what's the logical extension of that is that people go on a hunger strike and change government policy. I mean, seriously.
But I think if you stand up for something that you believe in, you obviously got to make it known, don't you? I mean, even like Ian Cook. I mean, he believes in something, so he feels he's been dicked over. So
dicked over?
Yep.
That's a legal term, yep.
So he's fighting his cause, and if you believe you're right, then if you want to change, if you want to make a change, you've got to speak up.
Very, very good point, Sue. All right, let's just see if we can logically dissect that. So Ian Cook was put out of business by corruption. Greg Andrew is his name. Did I say his name was? What did I say his name was? Greg Andrew hasn't been put out of business. He thinks his world is about to come to an end because of global warming, and he wants the government to do something about it.
Yeah.
And he's not happy with the government, so maybe he could use his vote to change governments, or if he doesn't think any government's doing anything about it. And
he's just making a point.
He's making a point. He's making
he
such a good point that he won't be around to see the government put into practice anything to do with global warming because he's going to starve himself to death.
We'll see how far he goes.
Now, here comes the doc. Now, where are our headphones?
Oh.
Come on.
Mine are here.
Well, come on. Where are they? Go on, get him. Hello?
Don.
Where are we? Hello?
Don.
Doc. No.
Don.
No. Doc.
Don.
No, Doc. We've got I did preempt this. I said you're coming in with a dud, a D-U-D update, a Don update from the Doc, a dud.
Yes.
So what is the dud?
Well, the update on that, matey, I'll tell you what, he never stops working, and I've obviously had this undercover assignment for him. Look, I haven't had any news from him in a little while, which makes me a little bit concerned that he may not have gathered the evidence that I needed. I don't know whether you've been following the story of Daniel Andrews being barred from the Portsea Golf Club. Are you across all of that?
Oh, my word.
Yeah, well, that's one of the stories I had him working on. So he's obviously been working behind the scenes on that and a few other things. I'm going to share my view on Daniel Andrews, which I think will go against what you think, Sam, and what a lot of listeners will think on the golf club ban. But look, I don't have any significant news at this stage on Don Scott and his whereabouts, but I can only hope that we're going to get some developments on that by the end of 2023. Can I just say to you, Sam,
yes.
And how are you, by the way?
And,
are you good?
And we've got Sue. Sue is the second
Hi,
wheel here. Ivan is over sailing down the Nile as we speak with rockets from Jordan going over the top of him. You think I'm making that up? He sent a picture of a rocket trail going over the top of the Nile as he sent a photo to us.
And do you know who advised him to go?
You.
Me.
Well, he's having a fantastic time, but it's in the middle of a war zone.
Yeah, but he contacted me a month or so ago and said, I think I'm going to have to cancel this trip because I'm due to be going to Jordan and I'm going to these other parts of the world, and with what's happening at the moment with Israel and Palestine. And I just said, mate, Jordan's a world away. Just go to Jordan, one of the friendliest places in the world. And when I was there in 2002, it was still it was tense in the Middle East, not as tense as it is right now for obvious reasons. But I said, mate, trust me, go to Jordan. They'll treat you like royalty. They love the fact that they've got people coming from Australia to come and visit. Or I think he's doing the Nile and he's doing a few other things as well. I don't know. I know you think he's crazy for doing it. No, I don't.
No, I've been there. He's been into the middle of the pyramid. He's going to the Valley of the Kings. So I agree with you. I'm glad he's gone. Now, I don't think I will disagree with you. I don't know what you're going to say about Dan Andrews. Okay. I don't know what you're going to say, but I reckon we'll be on the same page.
All right. Well, this is what I think. And when I said this on my radio show this morning, boy, did I cop it from listeners in Sydney, but also in Melbourne who listen in via the app, the 2GB app. So I said this morning,
Michael Christian Menswear listens to you on the app.
There you go.
He heard you speaking about I Cook Foods. So go on.
Yeah, I'll get onto that in a moment. But I made the observation this morning that I think it's small-minded and petty to go banning someone from joining a golf club when they want to become a member based on what they did in their job, whether they're a politician or a football star or a movie star or anything else. I just think that out of all of the things in life, I mean, there are people I've had extraordinary bust-ups with in public life as far as, having a confrontational interview with them on radio and, screaming and shouting and telling each other to F off and everything else. But if I then bump into them somewhere, if I was out and about and I bump into them, I see them across the room, I've had that thing happen to me before where we've caught each other's eye and they kind of look away, and I always walk straight over and say, "G'day, how are you? Are you still angry with me, or do you hate me? Do I hate you? Where's our feud up to?" I just don't have the attention span to carry around that kind of hate. And I just think with someone like Daniel Andrews, he wants to go and hit a golf ball probably by himself because he doesn't have too many mates around a golf course. And I don't know. I just find cancel culture so abrasive when it comes to the way that we go out of our way to try and stop people from doing things that are harmless. And I know that this has happened to you as well, Sam. I know that golf clubs before, the members have gone, "Oh, we don't want Sam Newman to be part of our club because he's too conservative or he's too controversial." Well, I'll stick up for Dan Andrews on this one just as much as I'd stick up for Sam Newman. I just think it's small-minded. And if this is the best way you can throw your weight around, I think you're a lightweight.
Doc, I'm telling you, mate, I couldn't agree with you more. I have Dan Andrews, I know plenty of Ricky Ponting, Shane Warne, Grant Thomas. I know plenty of people who have been banned from joining golf clubs for a whole lot of different reasons.
Ricky Ponting?
Ricky Ponting, I think Ricky Ponting, I hope I don't speak ill of him. I think he tried to join a club and I think he was banned in the first place. Maybe he's been accepted now, but I know Shane spoke about Ricky and him and Grant Thomas, the ex-coach of St Kilda and very successful. A lot of people in the media and a lot of people, sports people have been. I've been banned from two clubs that I was recommended by very eminent people in this community, and I accept all that. But I agree with you. If you're going to stop people, Dan Andrews has every right to be a member of any club that accepts him. Why they won't accept him? Because they don't like his politics. That's one thing. Would I play with Dan Andrews? I don't know. If he asked me for a game, I probably would. It doesn't mean you have to agree with him or like him or whatever. But that's the spirit of a golf club. Everyone joins and you play, and that's a spirit of revelry and merriment when you play, and you put all that stuff aside.
Yeah, well, Sue, I'm keen to get your thoughts on this because no one's asking anyone to hold his clubs or carry his clubs or hold his hand. I mean, I don't know. I just think, the likes of Shane Warne, I mean, that's a classic example where you'd have snobby golf club members who'd say, "Oh, we don't want Warney as part of our club." But once you go down that path, you've got to accept that if it's going to happen to an enemy of yours, one day it's going to happen to a friend of yours, right, Sue?
I think you've got to be that bigger person, and obviously whatever happens in the past, you just move on. Whether you like the person or not, that doesn't really matter. You can forgive, but you can't forget. So just move on. I agree, he should be able to play. Anyone should be able to play. Doesn't matter what you do or who you are. And as you said, you don't have to agree with them at all. So, yeah.
I think there's a great, just on clubs, there's a great quote from Groucho Marx: "I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member," which I've always liked. I mean, I don't know. The whole club thing I just find a little bit jarring, and it's a little bit, I don't like the idea of people being turned away from anywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter who they are, the colour of their skin, who they want to sleep with, what political party they're from. And yes, Dan Andrews made some shocking decisions as the Victorian Premier, but let's be realistic here. I mean, like all of the premiers, they were making it up on the run. They had no idea what they were doing. They'd never seen anything like it before. So they were jumping at sixes and sevens and trying to do their best. And in a lot of cases, like Dan Andrews, they stuffed it up deluxe. But yeah, I think it's all a bit over the top.
Mind you, Doc, and if he's... People say he's broken the law, and he's been broken the law, and I'm not sure if that disqualifies you just ethically, because I Cook Foods, they broke the law with I Cook Foods, putting them out of business. We've had Ian Cook on just earlier, before you came on the line, and he's standing for Dan Andrews' old seat.
Greater Dandenong,
at the Greater Dandenong, and he was put out of business because that state government broke the law.
Well, what about that case? And I spoke about it on radio yesterday.
I know,
and I did
Michael Christian Menswear listens to you, and he
Yep.
told me that you had.
So and I gave you a rap as well, because I said that, Ian Cook has been fighting this along with his son Ben and other members of the family for a long time, and they would have felt like no one was really listening, but there were a few people, yourself included, and Don, who spent a lot of time on the podcast giving them support and making sure that the issue didn't drop off the radar. And when you consider what happened, someone going into the business, planting a slug, because let's face it, we all know that's what happened. When you look at that A Current Affair footage, A Current Affair story from a few years ago on this, which is still up on YouTube, if you search I Cook Foods A Current Affair, it pops up straight away. And, mate, it was just absolutely disgraceful where the health official, every other time they visited, they wore a body camera, but on this occasion they didn't. She squats in the corner for 17 seconds, and then all of a sudden there's a slug that turns up out of nowhere. There's no trail behind the slug. There was a photoshopped image as well because there was a little piece of tissue on the floor, and one of the iCook staff members had seen the health inspector with tissues hanging out of a pocket and thought that's a bit strange.
Oh, Jesus.
What did you do?
Oh, fucking cut him off.
You
fucking idiot. Christ.
Oh, good on you.
How to get him back. Come on, get him back.
You've got the phone.
Jesus Christ. Hello?
I can't.
Hello?
Hey, I'm back.
I cut you, mate. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
God,
that's okay. To wrap it up, I just wanted to say, mate, well done.
I don't want you to wrap it up.
No, just to wrap up I Cook Foods, I just wanted to say, well done for your continued support of them, because that was a classic case where we're all taught to have faith in the people who are in charge of us, and this was a case where the Victorian government, the health department and the local council completely screwed over an innocent business, and now he doesn't even get compensation.
That's the point. That how could they find that the health minister Brett Sutton was reckless? That's dishonest. It means same word. Doesn't matter how you phrase it. How couldn't you get reparation for putting your company out of business is beyond me. And I hope he appeals.
Spot on. Now, what's gossip in podcast land is Phoebe returned, or is she still running scared? What's she doing?
Well, we think she's running scared, unless she can glean a story from us here. Now, Ricky Nixon, we've dissociated ourselves from Ricky Nixon due to a contractual dispute with him. But I see he's in court up on 10 charges about selling footballs with fake signatures on them. This has been ongoing, and normally, as I said, we'd have Ricky in to give his side of the story, but we've decided to dissociate ourselves from him. Sue still speaks to him, I think.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
Doctor.
I mean,
it's Doctor.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think that Ricky should come in on the podcast, and I think him and Sam should reenact the scuffle from outside the cricket club. I think that would be fantastic listening. I'd love to hear that.
He did apologise, so he has apologised, and so the thing is that Sam should be the bigger man, because so one day they're going to be walking down the streets in Port Melbourne, and they're going to see eye to eye. How should he react? How should Sam react?
Sam should say, "Ricky, I'm about to headbutt you. This is your warning."
No violence.
Last time outside the cricket club, I pretended. No, in fact, it was him leaning his head in towards you, allegedly. Look, I just think life's too short for these things.
Absolutely.
I mean, Ricky is completely mad, and I don't know Ricky well, but I just know that having listened to him, he's completely mad. But I think Sam isn't too far away from being in the same category. So I think they're electric personalities. They've got interesting views, and when you have those kind of characters on the podcast, because our society has become so bland and sanitised, that's why people listen to this podcast. That's why people enjoy listening to the likes of Sam and Ricky and Warwick and Don and all of the other cast of colourful characters that come along.
Warwick's bought a brothel.
He's bought a what?
A brothel.
Holy smokes.
Kappa has bought a brothel. Is that true, Sue?
Absolutely.
Yep.
In Oakley.
Yep. In Oakley.
But he never likes getting his wallet out. I mean, we discovered that, didn't we, during the joint birthday party that he was supposed to have with Ricky?
Don't worry about getting his wallet out. He likes to get He likes to get something else out, and probably that's why he's bought the brothel.
Okay, what's the name of the brothel? Not that I'm going there. I'm just interested for research purposes.
The whiz goes bang. I don't know what it is, but he has bought a brothel. That is an absolute fact, and you couldn't believe it. Now you, Doc, you've got onto the fact that I know this because I've read your stuff. You've got onto the fact that you think the COVID vaccine, AstraZeneca, is in trouble with a multi-million-dollar legal battle hanging over its head.
Yeah, well, there's a big court case that's about to unfold overseas on that, with people saying that the AstraZeneca vaccine was defective. And do you remember the time when nobody was allowed to say anything even remotely critical of the vaccines? And that's another one, Sam, where, to your credit, you put your nose out in front right from the start and copped a few blows from people along the way. And now I read today that we're now facing our 9th COVID wave. So we're in the middle of the 8th now. I must have missed 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 because now they're warning about the 9th wave coming. I mean, look, I can understand that if you're elderly, if you've got health conditions and you want to get vaccinated, you go and get your booster. But I'm never, ever, ever going to wear a mask ever again.
No.
There's no way in the world. And I was pretty, liberal with the way I interpreted the rules during the lockdowns here in Sydney. When they had the rule that you've got to wear a mask outdoors, I went, well, I'm just not doing that. There's no way in the world I'm going to be doing that. So I spent half of my life on my bicycle because when you're on the bike, that was exercise. So if I was going to a mate's place up the street or going up to the local cafe, I was always on the bike, and then I'd sit down and I'd start eating and sipping and whatever because I just objected to some narc telling me that I had to wear a mask outdoors in the fresh air. I mean, one of the big things we got wrong during COVID was locking people up inside where these things spread instead of encouraging people to go outdoors and get some bloody fresh air.
Our government led the world. This state government here under Dan Andrews led the world in that. We were the laughing stock of the world. And I sent you a text about Dr. Robbie Peterson, who was ahead of this. You probably haven't acted on it because you can't act on every bit of suggestion you get. But he was on our podcast. He was absolutely ahead of the curve on this, and he spoke on. We interviewed him a couple of weeks ago here about the corruption going on with Big Pharma and all this stuff. So you might like to revisit Robbie Peterson. He is a fantastic chat.
Yeah, I'll check out Robbie. The issue these days is when you mention COVID, people turn off. And
that's fair enough.
That's the problem that I've got in that, it's a bit like The Voice. For a year, my listeners couldn't get enough of The Voice. And then once it was over and once it was defeated, if you bring up The Voice again, everyone says, mate, can you stop talking about that thing? Because it takes them back to a time that they'd rather forget. But
now finally for you, Doc, unless you've... I can't think of the word when you speak badly about another country. What's that called? Not racism. It's called, when you...
Discrimination?
No, there's a... I can't think of the word.
Alzheimer's has kicked in.
No, it's got a Z and a Y and a...
Xenophobia.
Xenophobia is xenophobia. That's it. Xenophobia. Is that when you speak ill of a country?
Well, not necessarily a country. Xenophobia. Well, the reason the word became well known in Australia was because when Pauline Hanson first burst onto the scenes back in the late 1990s, she sat down for an interview on 60 Minutes, and it was the reporter Tracy Kuro who was doing the interview. And Tracy Kuro said to Pauline Hanson, "Are you xenophobic?" And Pauline said, "Please explain."
Yes, that's fair.
And xenophobia is basically taking an objection to someone based on their race.
Right. Well, now, so I'm glad you've said that because I know you're not xenophobic at all, but the Chinese seem to be buying up all the real estate, all the very expensive real estate properties in the eastern seaboard of Australia, and people wonder why that is allowed to happen because we couldn't go over to China and buy their expensive real estate. I know that you were chatting about that, or you said real estate agents have sold $100 million worth of properties to Chinese investors.
Yeah, well, these are real estate agents from Melbourne. in expensive suburbs like Toorak, and they're saying that they're coming by the busload. Every buyer at the moment is Chinese. There's one agent who says, I've done 135 million worth of deals in the past 6 months, all overseas investors. Most of them don't even live here, but they're snapping up our real estate in the middle of a housing shortage where kids these days, the idea of owning their own home is a bit of a pipe dream. You can't even find a rental. And, you've got all of these other countries, including China, that say, no, if you're not a citizen, you're not going to buy real estate here, but we just roll out the red carpet and let them do it. And again, it's nothing against people from China. They're just playing within the rules. But it means that the average Aussie turning up at an auction has no hope of securing the property because they're up against someone who has all of this money and is able to buy copious amounts of real estate, and we don't even know whether they're using it. A lot of these homes remain empty. So it's really tough. I've given up, Sam, on saying to younger people who I work with, hey, listen, you really need to start thinking about buying something, because I used to say to people when I'd secure them a pay rise, because I do a lot of negotiation on behalf of the people who work on my radio team, I go to the bosses and say, look, what are we doing with this person's salary? What are we doing with that person? And if I got them a good pay rise, I would then pull them aside and tell them, and then I would say to them, now listen, as part of the deal, I want you to invest in a little unit somewhere, nothing fancy, just a little unit somewhere in the next 12 months. Well, I've stopped saying that because it's unrealistic. And maybe, when I was starting out, it was realistic that you could save your money. And I think the first place I ever bought, I'd saved $15,000 and I bought it for $139,000. I've still got it, thankfully. And, it was realistic, but, this is just another factor with foreign buyers. I think that they would be smart at the moment. Anthony Albanese would be smart if he said, look, in the middle of this housing crisis that we've got at the moment, we're going to have a temporary pause for 12 months on foreign buyers snapping up Aussie real estate, because we need to make sure that those homes and units are filled by Aussies.
Yes, that's the classic oxymoron if Anthony Albanese was smart. Now, Doc, just finally, there's been a bit of how are we going, how's the media landscape and radio land going up there? Has someone, your predecessor or someone who follows you, have they been cancelled up there in... our afternoon show is looking for a new host. Deborah Knight, who's fantastic, from Channel 9. She does all sorts of stuff on the 9 network. She's moving out of the afternoon slot and going to be doing it. No, she hasn't been sacked. She's just been given a new show to host, which she's going to be hosting. So it means we do have a slot available, but we would need you to move to Sydney if you were going to host it, Sam. Well, I thought this was what Don might be on a special project. He could wax. How about Don doing an afternoon show up there? He could wax.
Yeah, I know, but we'd have too many sets of headphones that would be broken. We'd have too much crunching of chips and biscuits into microphones, and as you know, in the past, that has caused the odd problem or two.
Oh, I know you're only being serious. That has absolutely caused a lot of problems and a lot of ructions. Now, Doc,
can I read you a joke?
Please.
Someone just sent me this. I bought the wife some walkie-talkies for our anniversary, but she wasn't impressed. Walkie-talkies are the least romantic anniversary gift ever. This relationship is over, she said. I replied, this relationship is what? Over?
Beautiful, Doc. Extraordinary.
Oh, mate, if no one else is going to laugh at your jokes, you're going to laugh at your own, don't you?
I'd run it past Jodie if you're going to put that stuff to air.
Why don't we try and get, considering that Daniel Andrews has got all of this spare time that he wants to go hitting a golf ball around, let's get Dan Andrews on the podcast.
Well, nothing would. I've been through. We have made 3 attempts to get Lydia Thorpe on the podcast here, and we've been very nice man. Joe is her media representative, and no, she actually told us to get effed. But I said that wouldn't deter us, Joe. Lydia would be welcome to come. We would love to interview anyone, and Dan would be one of them.
Well, there you go. There's an invitation for Dan Andrews. You're welcome on the You Cannot Be Serious podcast anytime.
That's right, and we'll be behind you. If you want to join a golf club, we will say, well, why not?
Now, am I right in saying that you two, Sue and Sam, have become inseparable?
Are you right in saying that? In what way have we become inseparable?
Let me repeat the question. Am I right in saying you two have become inseparable?
Yeah, no, well, we are inseparable because I'm domiciled at a different address to Sue and she's domiciled down the road, and she comes in here to give me a hand with, actually, we're on YouTube and podcast. I have no idea about any of that show. She is the technical director of this outfit.
Ben, have you seen his YouTube channel?
I haven't had a look at it yet. I've been hearing about the cameras that have been set up. I'm going to jump on today. Is it just under Sam Newman, or You Cannot Be Serious?
Original Smart as Sam on YouTube.
Okay. All right. I'm going to jump on there and have a look.
There's an absolutely amazing interview which he did with Shane Warne.
Yes, I heard you saying that,
ago.
Sam,
Yep.
last week, that you dug it up and you'd spoken to Jackson and
Yes.
and Shane's brother as well, and
Keith.
or family members, Keith, his old man, and what they've given you permission, so it's up there now, is it?
Yes, it is, and it was done 25 years ago when he was just on the scene, and some of the stuff we asked him and the answers he gave were fascinating in light of where he ended up.
How good is it recording things, because you never know when you're going to drag it out one day and have a listen back to it. I'm so thankful that my grandfather, TK, when he was still alive, I said to him one day, hey, let's do an interview. And I recorded this interview with him, and I love grabbing it out and on his birthday and watching it back and him telling his old war stories and cracking jokes. And it's great to be able to... It's important that people create history, Sam and Sue, but I'll leave you with this thought as well. It's also important that someone records it.
Well,
and you recorded Shane Warne back in the day.
Well, Doc, just to finally, you know that thing on the revolving door that you did when you came down here for dinner, and I walked through the revolving door? That has had, now Sue's going to tell you this, that has had how many?
213,000 views.
213,000 people have looked at that where you said, and I said, oh, are you Ben Fordham? I've never met you before. And then you just threw us under the bus and just left. That's the last time Don was ever on camera.
We'll put that on YouTube.
Well, and listen, I'd like to say hello to Don, because guess who's listening to the podcast right now? My patient, Don Scott. So, Don, thanks for tuning in today, and hopefully we can have him back on the podcast by the time 2023 wraps up.
Hopefully we can. And, Doc, thank you for coming on. Doc?
Love you both, and look after each other. I know you are.
You idiot. Thank you, Doc. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, he's off.
Can you imagine Dan Andrews coming in here with you for an interview?
Well, we wouldn't ask him any other questions that he hasn't already been asked. No, we would. We'd ask him plenty of questions he hasn't been asked. No, of course he wouldn't. But as I say, I would. If anyone asked for an interview with me, I wouldn't care who they were. I'd be interviewed by them. Wouldn't matter. I don't know why you'd be scared of being... Not scared. I don't know why you'd... Maybe he just doesn't want to. And that's... Oh, well, plenty of people just don't want to. That's all right. So there we are, Sue. So that's the Doc. Now, we did mention, I meant to mention when he was talking about housing, about how your land title goes down to the centre of the earth. I meant to tell him that. He wouldn't believe that we made that up. But $1.8 billion has been given in compensation to the people whose houses are over the top of the tunnel because their land title goes down to the centre of the earth. It's extraordinary. If that is not gobbledygook, if that is not bullshit. But someone would have gone through the fine print and said, yes, you have a title and your land doesn't go through past the centre of the earth, because if we went through the centre of the earth, you'd be in China's domain of land titles, so only just to the middle. What is the circumference of the earth, the diameter of the earth, incidentally? What is it, 18,000 miles?
Pretty big.
So you have 9,000 miles of land title. Would that be the only diameter of the Earth? Not the circumference. How far is it from the South Pole to the North Pole through the middle of the Earth?
Buggered if I know.
No, thank you, Sue. I'm saying it's 18,000 miles, but it might be. You're going to look that up. And while I'm just about to wind this up here for this part, because we've got coming in next to speak to Barry Michael. Now, Barry Michael is no Barry Michael. We're going to speak. I tell you, we're going to speak to now. We're going to ring him up. In fact, I'm going to ring him up now on the phone. This is a man called Barry Stanfield for a reason. So this is very good timing. If I can find Barry's number, where is Barry Stanfield's number? Where is Barry Stanfield's number, please?
I'm trying to get the Earth.
Right, I'm going to find Barry.
6,378 kilometres, or 33,963 miles to the centre of the Earth. From the pole, 6,357 or 3,950 miles.
Well, I wasn't.
There you go.
I wasn't far out. I said it was 18,000 miles was the diameter of the Earth, so half of that's 9,000. You're saying it's only
6,000.
Oh, well, I wasn't far out.
6,300.
So you've got 6,000 miles of land title. Where's Barry Stanfield's number? Come on, I'm going to ring him up because while we got the phone on. Come on, Barry Stanfield. Seriously.
Haven't you got it in your phone?
Yeah, but I don't know how to access it. Here he is. Here's his number. No, he's not. Where is it? Barry Stanfield. I've got his number. Now, do I ring him on this?
Yes, you
go
push
on.
it.
Here
Go to
we
phone.
Phone.
And then go to the double dots down there, so you push it in.
What? 4.
Don't say
No,
that.
I won't say it. I won't say it.
Technology is not your friend.
That's right. See, I'm doing it now.
It's nearly there. You probably go to voicemail.
No, I won't because I said I was going to ring him. Now, is this? Come on, tell me if this is correct.
Yep. Well done.
It's amazing.
They said they can't teach an older.
Hello,
Barry?
speaking. How you going?
It's Sam Newman from Melbourne, Australia. Barry? And
How's things, Sam?
I'm just introducing who you are and why we're speaking to you. This is we're on air as we speak. This is not live, incidentally. We put this to air about an hour after we've spoken. But this is Barry Stanfield, and the reason we're speaking to him is, I'll just tell you who Barry is. He played for Footscray in the AFL from 1990 to 1996. He played 98 games for Footscray, and then he went to Adelaide in 97 and played 13 games for Adelaide. He played in 6 finals, and he's now, as we speak, I think we might ask him this, but this is not why we rang him. He's the coach of the Queensland Australian Football Female, the AFLW, the Australian Football League Women's side. I think he's the coach of that. Maybe he's not. He was in 2020, and the reason we're speaking to Barry is because the Fish Creek Football Club, of which he was the coach of in 2001 in the Alberton Football League. It was vandalised, burnt to the ground. They lost all their memorabilia, and we thought they are trying to raise money for rebuild the club, and for anyone who has memorabilia to donate it or give it back to the club so that they can start again. And Barry is a household name at the Fish Creek Football Club, and we thought we'd get him on the line. He's domiciled in Queensland. That's a pretty hackneyed introduction, Barry, but thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, no worries at all, Sam. Thanks for having me on. I'll just correct you on one thing.
Yes.
I did coach the Wilson Grange girls for a couple of years there during, I think, 2021 and 22, but I've not doing that anymore. I'm still involved in the football club at Grange, and I coach the under 17 boys there.
Good on you, mate. I'm glad you cleared that up for us. Now, you are intimately involved, and you're a household name at Fish Creek. Fish Creek has provided a number of AFL, VFL players over the journey. I don't know if you can tell us any of them and what you know about what happened to the great Fish Creek Football Club recently.
Yeah, listen, it's as you rightfully pointed out, Sam. I mean, Fish Creek has a rich history. They've last year they won their 37th premiership in senior football, which I think is a record certainly in Victoria, and I think it could be Australia wide.
Is that the Alberton Football League?
They were in the Alberton Football League. They've now in the Mid Gippsland Football League.
I see. Yep.
With the Alberton League closing down there a few years ago now.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Yep.
But so the club has a rich history and certainly dates back over 120 years. And there Friday a week ago, the club rooms were broken into and
Torched?
They went through and stole what they could, and then apparently lit the place on fire. So it has burnt to the ground, and along with it is over 120 years of history and memorabilia. The history is obviously still there. You don't lose that, but you do lose all of that great memorabilia that was stored within the club rooms, and all of that has gone. And the club rooms have gone, and there's a process now to get the club back on their feet.
Is there a GoFundMe? Is there a
there is. So they've created the GoFundMe page, and it's up and running. And anyone who wishes to donate can certainly jump online and contribute that way.
How would you find? Is it called the Fish Creek Go? Has it got a title?
Listen. If you just put a search in and search for Fish Creek Football Club GoFundMe, it will come up. There's an opportunity to give a donation through that means. I mean, also if others have got anything else that they would suggestions around how they could help or what they could contribute, I'm sure the club would be more than happy to have a chat with them. So if they just look up and contact the Fish Creek Football Club, that would be fantastic.
Now, Barry, just off the top of your head, who has come from Fish Creek Football Club to play in the various sides in the AFL or VFL? I should know that, but I'm.
Well, I think you would have played against a couple there, Sam. Over time, I think there's been 10 or a dozen that have gone on and played VFL, AFL football. So Ian Dunstan was one. I think you may have played against him.
Yes.
Ian Salmon was also from Fish Creek. Gary Walpole came from. He was another one that came from Fish Creek. John Ryan, I think in the 60s.
Yep.
He played a few games at Richmond. He came back to Fish Creek, and I think ended up coaching Fish Creek to 5 or 6 premierships through the 60s. Wayne Wiedemann was a guy that I played junior football with, and Weed went to Adelaide and had a good career there at Adelaide. And currently, Sam Flanders is he's from Fish Creek. He's playing at Gold Coast and doing quite well.
Well, Barry, that's if anyone needs to be recommended to try and rebuild the Fish Creek Football Club, you are its favourite son. I know that. I've spoken to a number of people, and you are held in very high regard up there. What are you doing up in Queensland with yourself?
Yeah, I moved to Queensland about 10 years ago. I was in South Gippsland, and the winters were getting a bit cold, so I decided I'd move up to Brisbane and working for a company called Osmead, and it's going along pretty well.
And you're in good health. The ravages of AFL football haven't knocked you around too much, have they?
Oh, I think like everyone who's had a bit of a career there, that as you get older, you need and so forth start playing up on you a little bit more. But generally in pretty good health, and it's a nice lifestyle up here. The climate's nice, and we certainly enjoy it. But I just will mention around the footy club, Sam, just why there. I mean, it is a club that my name is heavily associated with it in terms of my Stanfield name. So my father is a life member there, or was a life member. He's now passed on, but the best and fairest, senior best and fairest trophy there is in the Stanfield name.
Is it?
And so
Fantastic.
it holds a lot of memories for us, and certainly it's a place where we grew up. And
well, I'm very glad we're speaking to the right person, because I wasn't aware of those two facts that you gave us in, but we are absolutely speaking to the right person to try and get the Fish Creek Football Club back on its feet, so to speak. And we really appreciate you, Barry Stanfield, for jumping on the line and speaking to us on You Cannot Be Serious.
No worries at all, Sam. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Good on you. See you then.
Right, well, so this is, I'm surprising myself. I've been able to dial up someone to speak to them. We've taken a call from Dr. Ben.
And managed to cut him off.
I did. Well done. How would you be? I went to look at something on that phone and thought, why is it someone ringing me? And it was
just
him.
flicked it off.
I did. I flicked it off. How lucky was it that he didn't
You've done well.
get the brace
You've
and
done
bits and say, "Oh, they've cut me off. Fuck them." Well, the doc wouldn't say that because he doesn't cuss.
No.
Oh no, he doesn't cuss. So, well, we're now just waiting for the Barry Michael to come in. Barry Boy Michael, you might remember. What was Barry famous for?
Boxing.
Yeah, no, that's true. But what particular bout was he famous for? No, you would. I'm not putting you on the spot because I.
Heavyweight? Was it? No, he wasn't. Middleweight.
No, he wasn't.
Lightweight.
No, just go through all the weights: featherweight,
bantamweight,
strawweight. Yeah. No, he fought Lester Ellis in 1985, I believe. In 19. That's someone ringing me. That's no one to do with this. He fought Lester Ellis in 1985, I believe, in one of the most memorable boxing match ever in the history of Australian boxing. Jeff Fennick has had a couple of notables and Costa Zoo and all that, but they say that is legendary. Lester Ellis and Barry Michael going at it for 10, 12, 15 rounds, however long the contest was. And
he was a world champion too, wasn't he?
Lester Ellis?
Barry Michaels, was he?
Oh, Barry Michael, he was.
There are more, and he was from the western suburbs.
Did
you know there are more world champions from the western suburbs than there are from the eastern suburbs? There you go.
Well done. You've been a fountain of information. You told me that the diameter of the Earth is 13,000 miles. I said it was 18,000. And if you live in Footscray, the title of your land goes down 6,000 miles into the middle of the Earth. I wouldn't go down there. It's probably pretty hot and
pretty dark.
Magma-like. Plasma. Plasma? That's blood.
That's blood.
Plagma. Oh, and that's it. I've had enough now. All right, we're coming back with Barry Michael.